And Javi López is an MEP for the Socialist Party. Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez for the Socialists called this election early after poor results in local elections in May. At the time, it was seen as a bold move, even a gamble. So it doesn't look as if it's really paid off. Or has it?
Well, it worked. The Socialist Party meets the expectations and improves its results. Now with almost 32% of the vote. We had snap elections because we had local and regional elections this May with the bad results of the Socialist Party, but we expected to have Spanish elections this December. It was only to avoid the scenario of the Popular Party calling for the snap elections during all this time.
The People's Party is saying it's confident it can build a coalition. Do you think that's possible? And are you going to try and build a coalition?
Well, it's clear that Feijóo will be not the prime minister because the only possible ally that the Popular Party has, and we saw it is in the local and in the regional government, is with the far right. And the clear will of the Conservatives, of the Popular Party in Spain, it was to build a majority with the far right. And they didn't get this result. Now we will see if we are able, with a coalition government led by Pedro Sánchez, we are able to build a majority.
Aren't you going to have to rely on the votes of separatist parties? And doesn't that threaten the unity of Spain?
No, the reality is that the last 4 years, the Socialist Party was leading Spain with a coalition government with regional parties of Spain. And we were clear about the red lines for us. Like we want an inclusive Spain. The respect of the rule of law and the respect of the unity of Spain is a red line for the Socialist Party.
How are you going to manage that, though? Because these separatist parties are unlikely to give up their separatist ambitions, are they? They're going to want referenda. They're going to want to get votes on whether or not they can have more autonomy over their regions. And as part of a coalition, because you're going to be relying on their votes, you're going to have to compromise on those issues.
We already managed this the last 5 years in the government. And the red line, obviously, the respect of the rule of law, no to a referendum in Catalonia, but yes to the recognition of our plurality, and yes to a policy of dialogue.
And does one of these red lines rule out having anything to do with parties that have connections with, let's say, convicted terrorists? Because there are some pretty unsavoury characters that have been endorsing Mr. Sánchez. I'm thinking of Mr. Zapote, who is currently serving time for murdering 3 Spanish politicians as a convicted terrorist as part of the ETA campaign. What are your feelings on that?
Zapote is not part of the Spanish politics. The hardliners of the far right, they use this kind of claims. The terrorism in Spain ended 10 years ago and under a socialist government.
You must be disappointed that after being in power, your party has failed to get the population to be enthusiastic about the way you've been running the country since 2019.
It's not a failure. Like we have 1 million more votes than 4 years ago. We have been in power in one of the most difficult moments of the history of the last century, with one pandemic and a war in the borders of Europe, and with the worst numbers of inflation in the last 30 years. We will be able to build a majority. And why? Especially because the economy worked. Our numbers with inflation, we have less than 2%. We have the best numbers in the labor market in the last 25 years. We are growing more than 2%.
Javi López there, who's a member of the European Parliament for the Socialists in Spain. And for more details on the full breakdown of those results, if you're interested, do go to the BBC's news page. There's a lot more detail on what it may mean for the country as a result of what happened at the weekend there.